Okay. Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Test. Hi, hello everyone. Thanks for coming to the talk. I'm Fan from Cornell. I'm gonna talk about DECO, a privacy-preserving oracle for TLS. This is a joint work with people with Deepak, Jaslyn, Stephen, and Ari from Cornell. I will start with one of the applications, decentralized identity. So what is identity? Well, to use any system, the first thing that the user needs to do is to prove her identity, namely she's a legit user to the system, right? And the identity can be descriptive. You can think of a digital identity as a set of description about the user, right? For example, in some states, you order to purchase alcohol online, you need to prove that you are over 21. And being age over 21 is part of the digital identity. So today, the digital identities are established by divulging personal information. For instance, right, existing age verification requires users to send her name, address, date of birth, and even sometimes a picture of your photo ID to a third-party age verification services such as agechecker.net. So disclosing this private information is a privacy concern, but it also makes these services a central hub of private data storage and ultimately lucrative targets for attack. So increasingly, popular alternative notion is so-called decentralized identity, where users gather and manage their credentials sort of locally and have full control as to what to disclose to relying parties. For instance, in the invasion deployment, authorities would issue special purpose credentials, such as digital ID with age information in it. So the user can prove cryptographically that she is over 21 using zero-knowledge proofs without revealing any other information. Right? Isn't that great? So changing how ID works is an ambitious goal, and many companies are part of the endeavor. Here's a partial list of the members in Decentralized Identity Foundation, and several standards have been proposed. WC3 has one, Mozilla has one, and Microsoft has one. But these proposals didn't address what I think is one of the most critical challenge for any new system to take off. Namely, how do you bootstrap? So proposed designs need these special purpose credentials issued by authorities, such as signed ID from DMV, digital diploma from universities, or proofs of solvency or proof of coverage from financial institutes. But obviously, very few of these authorities do that. It's going to take a long time for them to change, to evolve to the stage that offer these credentials we want. Therefore, here's a very high adoption cost. This is where DECO come into play, right? So for each type of these credentials, there are already trustworthy websites with the data that we want. For instance, Social Security agency websites displays one's date of birth after the user logs in. DECO allows the user, which is the prover in DECO, to convince a verifier that she's over 21 using the web page as an evidence, but without revealing the password she used to access the web page, or even without revealing the exact date of birth. Right? Well, another application of DECO is smart contract oracles. Smart contracts don't have internet access, and they can't get data about the real world directly. Therefore, Oracle is an entity that relays often data to the blockchain. Right? But a challenge in building oracles is much of the data we're interested is just private. A user, for example, might want to prove, again, the same example to the oracle that she's old enough to engage in a legally binding agreement, or that she has enough money to participate in some on-chain financial activities, or that her flight was delayed to collect compensation from a flight delay insurance. So, but all of this data is private, and how can a user grant access to this data without giving away the password or in a privacy-preserving way? With DECO, the user can prove statements about her private data to a party, to an oracle. Basically, this is the same kind of challenge as we've seen before, but the verifier now is an oracle. So here's the strawman protocol, right? So we now, internet, we have widely deployed secure protocols on internet, right? Transport layer security, or TLS, is widely deployed to, protect the internet communication and the web pages you see. So a strawman protocol would be to directly forward TLS protected data. So here's roughly how TLS works. In handshake phase, the user and the server establish a session key K, and the server signs that session key with its private key. And I'm simplifying a little bit here because the keys are, the signature is a bit more complex than that, but this description works for our purpose. Then the server encrypts the web page under the session key and send the ciphertext to a user. So strawman protocol for user to prove to the oracle that she's over 21 is to relay this tuple, right? The session key, signature, and the ciphertext. The idea is the verifier here can verify the integrity of the ciphertext by making a chain of verification, and the correctness of the ciphertext can be checked against the public key of the server. Well, however, this simple scheme doesn't work for a very simple attack. A malicious prover, since she knows the session key, can simply forge any ciphertext because the data is not signed. Several solutions to add this so-called provenance property to TLS has been proposed. For the first class of the solution is to change how data sources work. For example, to change how TLS works and ask websites to deploy customized TLS protocols. However, we believe doing so would incur a high adoption cost because there has been millions of websites deployed in the wild, and changing all of them to use a custom TLS is going to be a high cost. Another class of solution is to leverage trusted hardware, right? For example, one of my previous paper uses Intel SGX to build oracles. But generally, using trusted hardware introduces extra assumption on the security of trusted hardware, and also trusted hardware is not always available. So can we achieve TLS provenance without without changing TLS and without relying on trusted hardware? This brings us to the DECO protocol. DECO is a protocol that facilitates privacy-preserving proofs about TLS data. It requires no trusted hardware, it requires no server-side changes, and it works with modern TLS versions. So let's look into a little bit how DECO actually works, right? In DECO, there are three parties. We have the prover. We started with a TLS server running an unmodified TLS. Then we have prover and the verifier. The goal is for the prover to prove the provenance of TLS ciphertexts. So following the same age verification example, suppose the prover had the following session with the server. These blue boxes are TLS ciphertext. The prover's goal would be to convince the verifier that this ciphertext, with the evidence that she wishes to use, indeed is from the the SSA.gov. Once the provenance of ciphertext is established, then the prover can simply decrypt the ciphertext or prove statements about the plain text in zero knowledge. And again, notice that these ciphertexts are not signed, which is the core technical challenge here. So the main idea in DECO is to hide the MAC key of a TLS session from the prover until she commits to the ciphertext. In DECO, this is achieved using a protocol we call three-party handshake. And for now, we focus on a particular ciphertext, CBC HMAC, a popular ciphertext in TLS, and we will talk about other cipher suites later. So, in a nutshell, at the end of a three-party handshake, the TLS client and the server share the same encryption key. The K-ink is the same at the server and the client, which is just the same as standard TLS. But the MAC key is sort of secret shared between the prover and the verifier. And now, since the prover don't have the full MAC key, the prover can't forge ciphertext and can't sort of spoof the server, as we have seen before. So here's the overview of the DECO flow. Right? It has three phases. In the first phase, shared keys are generated in three-party handshake. And in the second phase, after the handshake, the prover queries the server as a Euro TLS client. And after receiving the response, the prover commits to response by sending it to the verifier. Then the verifier sends back its share of the MAC key. Now with the full MAC key, the prover can verify the integrity of the response, and she can either choose to decrypt the entire response or prove statements about the plain text in zero knowledge. In the rest of the talk, I will briefly talk about each steps briefly. The three-party handshake. Three-party handshake is based on the standard two-party handshake in TLS, which has two steps. I'm going to talk about what they are in next slides, but the challenge here is to shoehorn in this third party in a way that is completely transparent to the server. In other words, from the server's point of view, this handshake should appear just the same as a standard two-party handshake. So how do we do that? In order to achieve this, we leverage the homomorphic properties in the first step, and we resort to secure two-party computation in the second step. The first step of TLS handshake is key exchange, where the prover, which is the client in TLS session, establishes a shared key with the server. In a three-party handshake, you can think of the prover and the verifier as two clients with independent with independent Diffie-Hellman public keys. And the prover combines these two keys into a single one and uses the combined key to finish the standard Diffie-Hellman exchange with the server. And all the three parties compute their Diffie-Hellman value the same as before, but now you can verify that the prover and the verifier end up with shares of the same secret had by the server. So specifically, prover end up with ZP, verifier end up with ZV, and their product is the session secret Z had by the server, which is exactly the form of secret sharing we want. And the second step is to derive a bunch of session keys, encryption key and MAC key from that Z by running Z through a PRF. This is what the server will do, and we don't want to change the server, so we need to replicate the same sort of outcome on the prover and the verifier side. So they need to compute essentially the key in the desired format, but they can't do it directly because they can't give each other their shares of Z. And a natural option to compute on private input would be two-party computation, right? You can think of it as this magic box from the sky that takes in private input, computes on it, computes on the private inputs and spits out the results. There are generally two ways to realize this magic box of general two-party computation, but they are either optimized for arithmetic circuits or binary circuits, but not both. So here a challenge is we do have both types of computation, right? We have arithmetic circuits in the first step, and we have HMAC-based PRF, which is a binary operation in the second step. Specifically, session keys are derived from the x coordinates of ZP plus ZV. These are 2 points on the elliptic curve, and session keys are derived from the x coordinate of their sum. But computing this x coordinate in a binary circuit would involve very expensive operations because it works in a large finite field. So for a concrete estimation, we estimated that computing x directly in a binary circuit would need 900 k AND gates, which is the main complexity for MPC, which means the more AND gates you need, the more computation you need to perform in this 2PC computation. So we need to optimize a way, essentially, otherwise our computation will be very slow. So what we did is we essentially moved the arithmetic operation out of the circuit. And that allows us to work with a binary, single binary circuit that can be efficiently evaluated using garbled circuit-based approaches. So under the hood, what happens is a share conversion protocol, right, which takes in 2 shares on elliptic curves, and the output are shares, additive shares of the x coordinates of z, right? So doing so, the benefit of doing this is adding up to elliptic curve points in binary circuits takes about 900k AND gates, whereas adding up 2 numbers in finite field only takes a few hundreds of AND gates. This is how we achieve a great performance boost in the 3-party handshake protocol. And the construction of shared conversion protocol is based on additively homomorphic encryption, such as PI-E crypto systems. So, zooming out from the technical details, so the outcome of all of this optimization is a very performant 3-party handshake, right? So in concrete term, it takes about 0.4 seconds to perform this 3-party handshake in a LAN setting, and it takes about 2.85 seconds to perform in a WAN setting. Compared to trusted hardware-based solutions such as Tancrier, this is indeed slower. It can be 20 times slower because it makes use of this sort of heavyweight cryptographic protocols, but DECO achieves cryptographic assurance, and it doesn't require trusted hardware. That is the main improvement. And just to quickly mention that so far we focused on CBC HMAC, which is a popular cipher suite in TLS, and DECO supports the other most very popular cipher suites, GCM as well. And by supporting GCM, DECO supports both TLS 1.2 and 1.3 because GCM is supported in both TLS versions. Okay, so coming back to the general big picture, DECO has 3 phases. What we just look at is the first phase. The second phase is more or less just the Euro TLS sessions, so I will skip that. I will then briefly talk about the third phase, proof generation. So now, after the 3-party handshake, right, the prover can essentially prove the provenance of TLS ciphertext. So once that is done, the ciphertext can be essentially treated as cryptographic commitment. And the prover then have multiple operations, multiple choices as to what to do with the commitment. Right? The first option is to simply open the entire commitment by simply revealing the decryption key. Doing so proves the provenance of the plaintext, but forgoes privacy. This could be useful for some applications. And alternatively, the prover can prove things about the plaintext in zero knowledge without revealing the decryption key. Right? And obviously, proving stuff in zero knowledge for large ciphertext would be impractical, but there are some operations we can do efficiently. Right? For example, in the paper, we proposed this scheme called selective opening, which allows the prover to decrypt a part of the ciphertext. Right. We support, DECO supports efficient record level or block level selective opening. And we can also combine selective opening with other by-outside whistles, such as to prove a statement about the partially opened plaintext. And here the point is, even if the plaintext is large, selective opening allows us to prove zero-knowledge proof statements on only part of it, which gives us efficient proofs. For example, you can, following the same example, the prover can prove age greater than a threshold without revealing the exact date of birth. And the performance of proof generation is application specific, and we implemented the 3 applications in our paper. And for the age proof example, actually, it takes about 4 seconds to generate the proof. And this application is to prove to a party that, my age is over 18 according to some university register data about myself. DECO has lots of applications. I'll talk about DID, and you will hear from Ari applications in decentralized finance. And it also has non-blockchain applications as well. The age verification can be useful for non-blockchain online age verification. Right? You can also think of other applications. In general, DECO allows the user to export their private data with integrity guarantee, and importantly, without the server's help, even without the server's awareness. To summarize here, DECO is a privacy-preserving Oracle protocol. It allows users to prove statements about TLS-protected data in a privacy-preserving fashion. It works with more than TLS versions. It requires no trusted hardware. It doesn't require any server-side modification. And if you want to learn more, encourage you to go to our website, deco.works. We have a blog post, and we have also our technical paper. Okay, thank you. That is DECO. I'm happy to answer questions you might have.
Hi, my question is, in a real-world DApp, who will be the verifier? And because the verifier is able to audit a TLS session, how can you ensure his honesty?
Here, that's a great question. In a single sort of verifier setting, we need to trust the verifier for correctness, but not for privacy. That's the point. So a simple scheme, I do have some backup slides here, is to duplicate, distribute the trust across multiple verifiers, right? And who will be verifier depends on the application. I believe you will hear a little bit more from next talk. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
I want to ask, what if the ECDHE, this ephemeral Diffie-Hellman, is not enabled in the server-side suites? Is this still going to work or not?
We focus on ECDHE because ECDHE is the recommended key exchange. I believe it should work with RSA as well, but since the ECDHE is a recommended key exchange, that's our focus. But I believe the protocol can be adapted to now RSA as well.
I have a question regarding the latency. You mentioned your verification needs multi-seconds, whereas Ethereum block is 15 seconds, right? So basically, we need many blocks to just get one verification, right?
Verification, you were talking about the verification is actually not the bottleneck. For example, since we use LeapSnark, verification is very fast.
Oh, okay, that's the
generation is more expensive, but usually generation for many applications it's not the bottleneck. You can generate the proofs off-chain.
Okay, so it is definitely possible, like for flash loans, right? Since that can be done within one block, they could potentially use your verification mechanisms, right? Could it?
Yeah, generating proofs within it depends on the specific application. As you can see, the bottleneck is the proof generation, which varies for different applications. So I guess that will be application specific.
Okay, thank you.
So very interesting work, very interesting idea of having other people vouch for your data. I wanted to understand a bit more about the security assumptions you made. It seems to me that because the protocol is online and you're relaying the MAC information to the verifier might be able to send information back to the website itself. Are you relying on a cookie or something else, or what's a security assumption of what the verifier may or may not be able to do?
That's a great question. So verifier, we don't trust the verifier is trusted to be to have integrity but not privacy. The cookies are not revealed to the verifier, and even if the cookie is used, it's not revealed to the verifier.
Any more questions?
What would be the scheme for proving insertions?
Sorry, proof of what?
Like a post request or something to prove that something was updated in a database? You just check the response headers, or?
What is the scheme for proof of database update?
Well, as I understand, all the examples are basically on GET requests. You parse the response back, and you see the signatures.
Ah,
right?
I
so
see.
if you want to
I
prove
see.
that, here's a login went through, here's a database update or something.
I see. So you want to prove that some side effect of this query happened.
Yeah.
I think one way to do that is to sort of make a second query and compare the difference. It would be interesting future work to look into if we can support